Hello, everyone! Today, I learned a very important lesson about 2 wrongs not making a right. When some special visitors with cameras came to the Arsdale Railway, Bert was pleased when they wanted to take pictures of him. But when the visitors drove through some muddy water and splashed him, Bert got very cross, and he decided to get his own back. They had splashed him, so Bert thought he would splash them back. When the small controller found out what Bert had done, he wasn't happy. He sent Bert back to his shed. At the sheds, the visitors told Bert they were very sorry they'd splashed him and that it had been an accident. They helped Bert get clean again. Bert realized that by trying to get his own back on the visitors, he hadn't made things better. He'd only made things worse. So remember, 2 wrongs don't make a right. Hello, everyone. Today, I learned a very important lesson about being determined. When Mavis had to go to the diesel works for repairs, the Fat Controller asked Den to do her work at the quarry. But when Den tried to organize the troublesome trucks, they were, well, very troublesome. Toby and Henrietta told Den he needed to be firm with the trucks. That was how Mavis did it. Even though it was a hard job, Den didn't give up. He took a deep breath and he showed those trucks that he was in charge. Den soon had everything under control, even the troublesome trucks. And when Mavis came back, she thanked Den for doing such a great job. That's why being determined and not giving up helps you get things done. Hello, everyone. Today, I learned a very important lesson about not sulking. Everyone knows that James likes to be the center of attention. One day, he was so busy showing off, he didn't do his job properly, and his passengers complained. The Fat Controller was angry with James and gave him the job of pulling rubbish trucks. But James wanted to pull passenger carriages, not rubbish trucks, so he began to sulk. We all thought James's sulky face was funny, so we started to pull funny faces too. James realized that sulking hadn't helped and that he couldn't always do what he wanted. It was more important to be really useful. James had changed his attitude, and even though he was pulling freight, he began to enjoy himself. And that's why, even if you have to do something you don't want to do, you shouldn't sulk. Hello, everyone. Today, I learned a very important lesson about being responsible. When the Fat Controller made James and me responsible for taking everyone to the dry-off football match, he asked us to work together. But then, we got into a silly argument over which team was the best, the Reds or the Blues. James and I were so busy hurrying to the match, we forgot about the important jobs the Fat Controller had given us. Then there was trouble. The football match hadn't started. James hadn't picked up the Barrow team, and I hadn't picked up the referee. Luckily, Percy saved the day. He brought both the team and the referee to the football ground. James and I realized the important thing wasn't which team was best, it was making sure everyone got to the match on time. That's why, when you're given a job to do, it's important to take responsibility for doing it properly. Hello, everyone. Today, I learned a very important lesson about being careful and not rushing things. When the Fat Controller asked Percy to take the very important sheep to the spring fair, Percy was so worried about being late that he wasn't very careful. He bumped the livestock wagon and made a big hole in it. But Percy was in such a hurry, he didn't notice. Every time Percy stopped, more of the sheep jumped out through the hole. And by the time Percy got to the fair, There were no sheep left in his wagon at all. Luckily, I found Percy's sheep, and I took them to the fair. Percy realized he'd been rushing so much he hadn't been very careful. If Percy had slowed down, he wouldn't have had an accident, and the sheep wouldn't have escaped. That's why it's important to be careful and not rush when you have an important job to do. Hello, everyone! Today, I learnt a very important lesson about making sure you tell someone when you're going somewhere. When Hero had an accident and needed new parts, I decided to help find him some. I thought if I went back to the woods where I first met Hero, I may find some of his old parts. But I didn't tell anyone where I was going. Then there was trouble. The old rails had given way, and I got stuck in the mud, and no one knew where I was to come and help me. I tried to call for help, but no one could hear me. Luckily, Harold saw my steam, and soon my friends came to rescue me. I realized that because I hadn't told anyone where I was going, no one knew where I was. I was very lucky that Harold saw me. That's why it's always important to tell someone where you are going. Hello, everyone! Today, I learnt a very important lesson about owning up to your mistakes. Christmas is a very exciting time, but it's also a very busy time, especially on Sodor. And when you're rushing, accidents are more likely to happen. That's what happened to Cranky when he dropped a crate. Cranky didn't want to get into trouble, so he hid the crate instead of telling anyone. This led to confusion and delay. Cranky spent the day worrying about his mistake. But luckily, nothing in the crate was actually broken. Cranky realized he should have owned up to his mistake instead of trying to hide it. Being honest and admitting when you've made a mistake is the best thing to do. That's why it's always best to own up to your mistakes. Hello, everyone! Today, I learnt a very important lesson about everyone being useful. When the thin controller said that his bicycle's 2 wheels were best, we all disagreed. We all thought we had the best number of wheels. Bertie thought his 4 wheels were best. I thought my 6 wheels were best. Spencer had 20 wheels. But he ran into trouble when he tried to take the Duke and Duchess to Callan Castle. I tried to help, but the track was blocked, so Bertie came to the rescue. But one of Bertie's 4 wheels burst a tire, and so Harold quickly flew the Duke and Duchess to the castle. This proved it didn't matter how many wheels we have. We could each help the Duke and Duchess on their journey. Everyone has a strength and can be really useful. We just need to find that special thing we're good at. Hello, everyone! Today, I learnt a very important lesson about not showing off. James is a very proud engine. He likes to tell everyone he's the best at everything. One day at the shunting yard, Philip told James and me how strong he was and how he could pull lots of cargo. Instead of ignoring Philip, James decided to also be a show-off and prove that he was the stronger engine. But then there was trouble. The heavy cargo was too much for James, and it pushed him off the tracks and over the edge of the bridge. Luckily, Philip was on hand to save him. James realized he shouldn't have tried to pull more cargo than he could manage. Showing off didn't make James look strong or clever. That's why showing off is never a good idea. Hello, everyone! Today, I learned a very important lesson about being proud of the things you do well. Hugo is a very fast engine, He's known as the Rail Zeppelin. But when Hugo saw a Zeppelin airship that looked just like him, he thought he should be able to fly too. Skiff told Hugo he could run on the rails and sail in the water. So Hugo thought he should be able to run on the rails and fly in the air. But no matter how hard he tried, Hugo couldn't get his wheels off the tracks. He was far too heavy to fly. The Fat Controller told Hugo he should be proud of the things he could do, not worry about the things he couldn't. He didn't need to fly in the air. Hugo was a rail zeppelin, the fastest vehicle on land. So remember, there might be some things that you're not good at, but be proud of the things you can do. Hello, everyone. Today, I learned a very important lesson about not playing rough and tough. Diesel is often mean to other engines and acts rough and tough to impress his friends. But one day, I found Diesel talking kindly and gently to some fluffy ducklings. Diesel was so embarrassed. He was worried his friends wouldn't like him if they thought he was a big softy. So, I agreed not to tell anyone about the ducklings, as long as Diesel promised to be kind to the other engines. But it wasn't long before Diesel was being rough and tough again. So, I took Harry and Bert to see Diesel's ducklings. Harry and Bert loved the ducklings, and they still liked Diesel, even when he was being kind. Diesel learned his friends would like him even if he wasn't rough and tough.